And we showed you pictures like this one yesterday. Hundreds of National Guardsmen and women from across the country sleeping, eating, and touring the Capitol building while waiting for their next orders. And last night, Vice President Mike Pence personally visited some of those troops, thanking them for stepping forward for our country and sharing photos on Twitter. The number of National Guard members stationed in D.C. will be nearly 20,000, which is more than the number of troops currently in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria combined. And even with heightened security, Vice President Mike Pence has committed to a peaceful and smooth transfer of power to the Biden administration. And some companies are even taking their own efforts to curb violence, and airlines like Delta, United, and American are deciding to not allow checked firearms on flights to major D.C. area airports this week following the deadly Capitol riot and possible armed protests planned. And Airbnb is canceling reservations in the D.C. area as well during Inauguration Week after identifying and banning numerous individuals associated with hate groups or involved in criminal activity at the Capitol. And if you'd like to read more about all of these stories, you can head to KARE11.com and stick with us over the weekend for the latest updates out of D.C. and what's going to be happening here at our Capitol over in St. Paul, if anything's going to be happening, you guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out if something does go down, and we'll be on top of that all weekend here at KARE 11.